So I want to talk to you about starting over with a new airline and the process that I went through, because just like this apartment that I just showed you, starting over at a new airline was a very tough thing for me to come to terms with. And I realize now, I've been at the job for about 8 months, that yet again I manifested everything that I wanted to happen. And you can call it manifesting, you can call it attracting, you can call it just making it happen. It's whatever works for you, right? This is all about energy. It's ultimately like what vocabulary works best for you to make things happen in your life. Okay, so I want to start you guys off with a mantra that I made up, and I say it now in a briefing every time I get to the aircraft with crew because I just think it's really positive and light. And it is simply, life is a mirror, so look into it with positivity. And when you go from that perspective, you take accountability and ownership for everything that's happening in your life. And then you realize the best thing to do is really look into this mirror at yourself and this mirror of life with positivity. And then good things will happen. There was a few reasons why I wasn't sure if I wanted to come back to being a flight attendant, and the first one was because health and wellness and biohacking and fitness are all very important to me, and I was really run down from that shift work for so long, especially at Emirates when you're going all over, super long flights, tons of different time zones, and you're working a lot. I wasn't sure I wanted to come back to that. The second thing was I wasn't sure that I was gonna like reserve. Reserve is essentially being on call. You know if you're going to be AM or PM shift, you know which days you're working, but other than that, you don't really know what's happening. So I really wanted to be able to have a job where I had more control. So I was nervous about starting over at an airline because you really have to pay your dues the first couple months, sometimes even the first couple years before it gets worth it. So those were my hesitations, but I said, you know what? This opportunity presented itself to me. I got the interview so effortlessly. I'm getting in at a good time. So let's just see. Let's just give this a chance. Let's see why the universe presented this to me at this time, which kind of threw a wrench in all of my plans that I had. And I could have either said, no, I'm not going to take it. But I decided to lean into it, lean into the resistance and say, you know what? I'm going to take it, but I'm going to have the mindset to make this kind of everything that I didn't have at Emirates. And let's just play with it. Let's just see if I can really create this situation to work itself out for me. And it did, because I ended up getting everything that I wanted. I got Seattle as a base assignment. I got amazing seniority because I was one of the first people to attend one of the initial interviews. So I ended up getting placed in class number 3 out of class like 11 or 12. So that means all those classes were behind me. And I got off reserve in 2 months. I was expecting to be on reserve for a couple months, and we were off in 2 months. So I feel so grateful because that was really stressful, and kudos and awards to all the people, especially I know the people that did or still on in other bases reserve for years with Alaska. You guys deserve awards, but I do feel like 4.5 years at Emirates, I kind of paid my karmic dues. So I'm taking the benefits of getting off reserve really fast. So for those reasons, this job became so surprisingly great for me. It was, of course, a struggle when I started, and especially starting on reserve. I wasn't happy, I was tired, they were calling me at 2 a.m., get to the airport at 5, they were still really understaffed. So there was definitely a period of time where I was like, I don't think this is for me, and I might quit. But starting over at any sort of job is always very tough. So I promised myself, I'm going to give this a good 6 months effort. I'm going to work through my birthday. And if I don't like it by my birthday, I'm going to leave, because I'm at a point in my life where I'm not going to work or do something or waste my time just for a paycheck if it doesn't fulfill me or doesn't bring me joy. And then everything worked out perfectly. So I want to share with you how I did this, because it's all about your mindset, you guys. And the reason I have this channel, is because I'm being vulnerable. I'm sharing my life online with random people. I want to be inspiring and entertaining and help people, especially flight attendants, because I do think this is a really tough career. And it's hard to control a lot of things in your life, but you can control your mindset and your health for the most part. So those are kind of the topics that I want to get into on this channel, and hopefully, build a community of people that this helps. And if this helps flight attendants, that makes me feel really good, because while it was difficult to come back and to transition, and still, there's things that are difficult, like the sleep and the inconsistent schedules. That's one of the hardest things for me. Fitting in my workouts, eating healthy, all of these things, are quite difficult to do. But I figured, if I can hack this, if I have such strong values when it comes to these things, and they're so important to me, but I'm still able to achieve them or get them done, and I can help other people do that, that means I'm winning, right? That means I really scored big. So this is almost like a test for me in order to be able to keep up my routines, keep up my fitness, my health, my mindset, because when you're so challenged physically and with emotional fatigue, it's very difficult to make good decisions for yourself, or to really be in alignment with yourself constantly, because your ego takes over when you're super tired. So you default to where you're comfortable, the decisions that you usually make that make you comfortable. You're not going to push yourself out of a box when you're tired and run down, because it's too difficult. So this for me was a great challenge, and now I'm about 8 months in, and when I look back, I really see how all of these things that I wanted, I manifested this into happening. And now I'm at a point where my schedule is super flexible. I work first class a lot, which, in economy, because of the hiring freeze that Emirates did, I was stuck working economy for many years, and I was really pissed that I didn't get to the premium cabins. Now I'm working first class on every flight. So all of these great things are happening. I live in this beautiful place that's decorated I feel like this is the first adult place I've ever lived in, because I've always lived with flatmates and in an apartment that was never really mine. So it's like all of these great things are happening, and I'm going to share with you how I kind of got to this point. The first thing I did was I sought help from people that knew more than me and that could help me. I got a life coach. I did personal growth programs, spiritual practices, but working one-on-one with a life coach was great. And for anyone that wants to up-level their lives, this is just a fast track to doing so. I think we are so conditioned to not wanting to seek help and to figure everything out for ourselves, or there's kind of a lot of stigma about life coaches. Why would you pay someone this much money? Because there's been such a resurgence for them, especially since the pandemic. But these people are trained, and it's just like going to therapy. If going to therapy works for you, go to therapy. But life coaches are trained to help you see your limiting beliefs, your self-sabotage, look at everything from a bird's eye view. And for me, what I really needed help with was reframing. I was able to really learn how to reframe everything into a positive, see the positive in everything. And when you start to do that, you just feel better, you feel lighter, you vibe higher. When you're vibing higher, you're going to attract more into your life. And that's how I started to manifest these things. Through programs and through my own inner work and through journaling and vision boarding, I wrote all of these things down that ended up happening because I decided to take ownership of my life and what I attract into my life. We're all creators of our life. Whatever happens, it might seem like it's a situation that's happening to you, but it's probably some sort of energy that you attracted to learn a lesson from. And that was the biggest lesson for me. Once I learned that any hardship, problem, person, situation, if I just say, okay, cool, why did I attract that to myself? And look at it and find ways that I can improve or find the lesson in it or the growth, then it's a win-win. And there's two ways you can look at it. You can either be like a victim about life, or you can take ownership. Even if I'm just talking a bunch of crazy stuff, I'd rather be doing that and feeling like I'm making strides than complaining all the time and being a victim about my circumstance, right? So I essentially had to, when it first was a little rough, I had to say, I chose to come back to this industry. I did this for a reason. I did it as a test. And if it doesn't work out how I want, it's data, right? It's great data for me to have. And then I know for sure that this isn't the industry for me. And I can leave knowing that I tried it again, I gave it my best shot, and now I'm a different person and it's not for me. So when I went in without all of these attachments and I just surrendered to what was gonna happen, it ended up speeding things up, speeding the hard parts up, like the starting over, because that's always going to be hard. Starting a new job is always going to be difficult, especially at another airline, because you're going to be comparing it to your old airline and all those things. Nothing is going to be perfect, but I feel like it really helped speed up that process. And then I got to a point where now I have way better schedule than I ever did before, and things are really good. On that note, it's important to give yourself realistic times, right? I mentioned how I had to lean into the resistance a little bit, and even when it was uncomfortable at first, and I promise you, I had moments where I did want to quit when I was getting called at 2 a.m. and woken up, that I gave myself a deadline, not a deadline, but a timeline. I said, I'm going to give it my best shot for this many months. I'm not just going to give up after a couple 2 a.m. calls that are throwing off my sleep. If it becomes a pattern and I'm really upset by it, sure, I think you should leave. But I was like, I need to give myself a couple months to settle in. And I did, and it got better. So I want to talk about control a little bit, because it's hard to think like, how am I going to manifest something without controlling the outcome? And what I really learned is you just have to put the thing that you want out there, but not worry about how it's going to happen, right? If you're trying to control the how, then you're blocking the manifestation from happening. And what you have to do is you have to really believe in it. You have to really feel that it's going to happen, right? I had to really want to live in Seattle. I had to really want to be good seniority. So like one of the very, very beginning classes, which after Emirates, trust me, I knew what wanting good seniority felt like, because I had really bad seniority my whole entire time there because of the hiring freeze. So I was essentially junior for 4.5 years. So you have to feel it. You have to believe that it's possible to happen, but then you just have to surrender to whatever happens. So I had to be like, if this doesn't happen, I have to trust that it's for a reason and I'm going to learn something from it, versus if I don't get good seniority, I'm going to leave right away and I'm going to quit. Or if I don't get based in Seattle, I'm going to quit. All of these sorts of reactionary decisions. Once you start trusting that everything works out for you, and even if it didn't work out in the way that you wanted it to or you were trying to manifest, that you trust that whatever's going to happen was for a reason and it's probably going to be even better, then usually it does happen. And if not, whatever happens is better. For me, in those situations, I literally got everything that I wanted. To summarize, I'm living by myself, which was a huge goal after Emirates. I wanted to live alone for the first time. I got really good seniority with Alaska. I got off reserve super fast. I'm working first class all the time. And I got based where I wanted to be based. So that's pretty much my story of how I manifested this situation to be the best that it can be for me. And I really do believe that it goes back to my mantra, life is a mirror, look into it with positivity. If you expect good things, if you leave the house wondering what good things are going to come to you that day, you're going to attract good things. Everything is just a reflection of how you're looking at it. If you're constantly negative or being a victim or expecting things to go wrong or thinking about what you don't want to happen versus what you want to happen, that's the energy that you're going to attract. And I had to learn this for myself the hard way. So if this helps somebody out there that's listening, even one person, then cool, I'm happy, and this channel is doing something. So in summation, the way that I manifested this reality, this apartment, all of these amazing things with my new job was in 3 steps. First, I worked privately with a coach. I worked on my mindset. Number 2, I wrote down long-term visions, and I did all sorts of journaling and vision boards and workbooks about my future and what I want. And there's still a lot that I want to accomplish and big homes that I want to live in. I don't want to live in a studio my whole life. But then I tweaked it and made a short-term goal and said, okay, what is realistic? What is the next step that I realistically feel that I can get? And then I did it. I brought all of those things into where I'm living currently. And the third way was I accepted that I'm a creator of my life, right? I took accountability for what I draw into my life. And even when it was hard, even when I wanted to complain, even when I wanted to be a victim, even when I wanted to think about all the negative potential outcomes, I would only focus on the positive. I would promise myself that everything was going to work out. And I would stop these negative thoughts from coming and taking over my mind, before they spiraled into something too much. Your mind is constantly running chatter, and a lot of people don't realize that you have control over it. You just need to have a higher perspective and say, okay, I'm not going to go down that path. You can go on your little diatribe by yourself, but I'm going to think about the positive things and think about what I want to happen and trust that it's all going to work out, because that's what I believe I can attract. And it worked for me, so it can work for you. So that's my lesson today. I hope this helped you. I'm looking forward to getting more vlogs out there. I really want to start putting some footage and vlogs out there that can help flight attendants, especially new flight attendants that are struggling, learn how to hack their mindset, hack their wellness. And I'm still working on all of my footage from Emirates. I know this is so silly, like I'm literally editing footage from 2019 and 2020, but it takes me like a month to edit vlogs. So I'm slow, but it's eventually going to come out. And, you know, it's a fun project for me because I get to look back down on memory lane and really see how far I've come. And it's super interesting now working for an international carrier to then starting with a domestic carrier. They're two totally different worlds, so there's going to be more on that in future vlogs. So until next time, spread kindness, spread love, be well, peace.